I want to tell you a story about the American welfare queen. No, it's not the single mom working 2 jobs to raise her kids. That was a lie. A lie spun in the 70s to convince you that the poor are why you can't afford to live. And that lie, well, it still echoes today. I know you've heard it. The poor are draining the system. People on food stamps are mooching off the government. And if they just worked harder, well, they wouldn't need help. But look closer. The real moochers, well, they wear suits, not name tags. Governments hand out grants, loans, and tax breaks to corporations to create jobs, to stimulate growth. But once those jobs exist, workers are paid below a living wage. For scale, in the 1970s, a full-time minimum wage worker could afford rent, groceries, a family of 3 or more, and still save. But today, that same worker would need 2 full-time jobs just to get by. And when people can't afford food, when they can't afford rent or health care, of course they turn to public programs. That's what they're for. But here's the thing. Taxpayers, not employers, cover the gap. We pay the real cost of keeping those workers alive and functional. Meanwhile, the corporations and their billionaire CEOs, well, they're not paying taxes. While working people pay taxes on every dollar, up to 40% of our income. Billionaires live off their stocks. And when they do sell them, they might pay 19%. But most don't sell. They borrow against them. And those loans, they're not taxed at all. So they live tax-free while we fund the roads their trucks drive on, the schools that train their workers, the power grids that their lights run on, the police and fire departments that protect their stores, and the courts that enforce their contracts. So tell me, who's really being subsidized? The workers or the corporations saving billions by offloading basic costs onto taxpayers? When a full-time worker needs food stamps to survive, the government isn't supporting the poor. It's subsidizing corporate greed. And where does that assistance money go? Right back into the corporation's hands. The same companies that pay low wages are now profiting again when workers spend those benefits in their stores. It's a closed loop. And we, the people, including those who are receiving benefits, foot the bill. But that's not where it ends. When banks gamble and they crash the economy, they get bailouts. But when a family falls behind on rent, they get evicted. When an airline receives billions in pandemic aid, they lay off workers and buy back their own stock. When the poor run out of money, they're called irresponsible. But when a corporation runs out of money, they're called too big to fail. We have built a world where greed is rewarded, but being needy, well, it's punished. A world where the laborer cries out for justice, but the CEO builds another mansion on tax breaks. The prophets saw this coming. They said, "Woe to those who make unjust laws, who deprive the poor of their rights." They say that the wages you failed to pay the workers cry out against you. This is not about socialism or capitalism. It's about righteousness. It's about truth. It's about the kingdom of God. A kingdom that refuses to bow to Pharaoh, that tears down golden calves of profit. And it says, "Blessed are the poor." Because the problem isn't laziness, it's greed. The system isn't collapsing because of those in line at a food bank. It's collapsing because of those cashing checks from bailouts. The kingdom of God does not look like Wall Street. It looks like Acts chapter 4, where no one claimed their possessions as their own. There were no needy among them. That is the economy of heaven, and it's the only one that will last. God bless you. May His peace be yours.